The morning of my wedding began with absolute chaos. Phones kept ringing. Relatives hurried through the house. My suit hung neatly by the bedroom window, but I barely had time to look at it. Nothing about the day felt normal. 3 months earlier, Emma and I had decided to try again. Our first relationship had ended because of endless arguments, pride, and bad timing. Neither of us had truly stopped loving the other. When we met again after 2 years apart, everything felt different. More mature. More honest. "I don't want another goodbye," she had told me. "Neither do I." Those words brought us back together. Then, only a week before the wedding, Emma called me late at night. Her voice shook. My grandfather collapsed. "I'm coming." "No." She stopped me. "My whole family is here already. Is he all right?" "The doctors don't know." The next morning, Emma suggested something unexpected. "We should move the wedding forward." I frowned. Forward? I don't know how much time Grandpa has left. I understood immediately. He had always dreamed of seeing Emma get married. If time was running out, waiting another month suddenly felt impossible. "Are you sure?" "Yes. I'll marry you tomorrow if that's what you want." She laughed softly through her tears. "I knew you'd say that." Everything happened quickly after that. The venue changed. Guests rearranged their schedules. The ceremony became much smaller than we originally planned. Even the photographer apologized because he couldn't arrive in time. Nobody complained. Family mattered more than perfect pictures. On the wedding morning, Ryan helped me adjust my tie. "You nervous?" "A little." He grinned. "Good." "Why is that good?" "Because only people who care get nervous." I smiled. "I guess that's true." He looked at me carefully. "You really love her." "I do." "And you believe this time will be different?" "I have to." Ryan nodded. "I hope so." An hour later, I stood inside the small chapel. Soft music filled the room. Emma's family occupied the front rows. Everyone looked emotional. I assumed it was because of her grandfather's condition. The officiant smiled at me. "We'll begin shortly." I took a deep breath. Then the chapel doors opened. The bride entered slowly. A long white veil covered her face completely. I couldn't even see her eyes. For a moment, I found it strange. Emma had always said she wanted a simple veil that showed her smile. This one reached almost to her hands. Still, I said nothing. Maybe her family had changed the dress at the last minute. Maybe she wanted to surprise me. As she reached the altar, I noticed something else. She never looked up. Not once. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the bouquet. I whispered, "Emma." She gave the smallest nod, but she didn't speak. The ceremony began. Every promise felt heavier than I expected. Every answer from the bride came in a voice so quiet I could barely hear it. When the officiant declared us husband and wife, applause filled the chapel. I smiled beneath the happiness and relief. I believed I had just married the woman I loved. I had no idea my real wedding hadn't happened at all. The ceremony ended almost as quickly as it had begun. There was no long reception, no dancing, no speeches. Emma's family explained that everyone wanted to return to the hospital after the celebration. Given her grandfather's condition, nobody questioned it. I certainly didn't. Outside the chapel, relatives congratulated us one after another. My new bride thanked them politely but spoke very little. Whenever someone hugged her, she stiffened. I assumed she was overwhelmed. Ryan finally caught up with me near the entrance. "Congratulations, husband." I laughed. "Thanks." He glanced toward my bride. "Emma seems quiet. She's worried about her grandfather." "Probably." Even Ryan sounded uncertain. Before I could ask what he meant, my bride gently touched my arm. "We should go." Her voice was barely above a whisper. I smiled. "Of course." A black car waited outside. The driver loaded our bags while we climbed into the back seat. The entire ride to the hotel passed in silence. I tried several times to start a conversation. "Are you all right?" She nodded. "Tired." "I understand." A few minutes later, I reached for her hand. She flinched, only for an instant. But I noticed. I slowly pulled my hand back. "I'm sorry." She shook her head quickly. "No, it's not you." Her answer lingered in my mind. "Not you." Then what? When we arrived at the hotel, the receptionist greeted us with a warm smile. "Congratulations on your marriage." "Thank you." I replied. My bride simply nodded. We took the elevator to the top floor. Neither of us spoke. Inside our suite, she quietly locked the door behind us. The room overlooked the city. Candles decorated the table. Fresh flowers stood beside the window. Everything looked perfect. Everything except us. I turned toward her. You've been nervous all day. She stood motionless. I know. Talk to me. Her breathing became uneven. She stopped. I stepped closer. Emma. The moment I said her name, she closed her eyes. Then, with trembling fingers, she reached for the edge of her veil. My heart pounded. Slowly, she lifted it away. Time stopped. The woman standing in front of me wasn't Emma. She had the same face, the same eyes, the same hair. But something was different. The tiny beauty mark beneath her left eye. Emma's had always been beneath her right. I stumbled backward. No. She lowered her head. I'm sorry. I stared at her in disbelief. Evelyn? She nodded once. Every memory rushed through my mind. Emma's identical twin sister. The sister who lived overseas. The sister who wasn't supposed to return for another month. My voice shook. Where's Emma? Evelyn covered her face. I can't tell you. What do you mean you can't tell me? She looked as frightened as I felt. I had no choice. No choice. You have to believe me. I just married the wrong woman. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I know. Explain this. I will. Start talking. Instead of answering immediately, she grabbed my hand with surprising strength. Her fingers trembled. She looked directly into my eyes. There was fear unlike anything I had ever seen. Then she whispered, the words that shattered everything I believed about my wedding. Please. She struggled to breathe. Don't tell my sister. I pulled my hand away. Start from the beginning. Evelyn nodded through her tears. You deserve the truth. I deserve a lot more than that. I know. She sat on the edge of the bed, still holding the wedding veil in her lap. For a long moment, she couldn't speak. Finally, she whispered, Emma disappeared this morning. My heart stopped. What? She left before sunrise. Where? I don't know. I stared at her. You're telling me my bride vanished on our wedding day? Evelyn closed her eyes. Yes. And everyone knew? Our parents did. I laughed bitterly. So the entire ceremony was a lie. No. She looked at me. The marriage was real. To the wrong person. Her shoulders dropped. Yes. I walked across the room, trying to control my anger. I can't believe this. You have every right to hate me. I don't even understand you. She wiped her face. I didn't want this. Then why stand at the altar? Her answer came immediately. Because of my father. I stopped walking. What about him? You know his heart condition. I remembered. Mr. Carter had spent months in and out of hospitals. The doctors warned the family to avoid unnecessary stress. He believed Emma was marrying the man she loved today. Evelyn looked toward the window. When Emma disappeared, my mother panicked. I remained silent. My father was already weak. She took a shaky breath. They were afraid the shock would kill him. So they asked you to replace your sister. She nodded slowly. They begged me. And you agreed. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't decide whether to be furious or shocked. Where did Emma go? Evelyn hesitated. They found a letter. What did it say? She left with someone. The words felt like another blow. Someone. Evelyn lowered her head. A man. I couldn't breathe for a moment. She ran away. Yes. On our wedding day. I'm sorry. I laughed again. Not because anything was funny. Because I didn't know what else to do. I spent months planning this. I know. I trusted her. I know. I married you instead. She looked down. I know. The silence between us became painful. Finally, I asked, why didn't anyone tell me before the ceremony? Mrs. Carter appeared in my mind. The nervous relatives. The rushed schedule. Everything suddenly made sense. Evelyn answered quietly. They were afraid. Afraid of what? That you would leave. I looked at her. I would have. I know. They wanted to protect the family name. My anger returned instantly. So my life was less important than their reputation? No. It certainly feels that way. A knock interrupted us. Neither of us moved. The knock came again. "Evelyn." Mrs. Carter's voice. "May we come in?" Evelyn looked at me nervously. I crossed my arms. "Open the door." She hesitated. "They need to explain this too." After several seconds, she unlocked the door. Mr. and Mrs. Carter stepped inside. Both looked exhausted. Mrs. Carter's eyes were swollen from crying. Mr. Carter looked older than I remembered. He took one step toward me. "I'm sorry." I looked at him without speaking. He lowered his head. "I know no apology can erase what we've done. But you still did it." Mr. Carter's voice trembled. "You have every reason to be angry." I looked at him. "Angry isn't enough." He nodded. "I know." Mrs. Carter stepped forward, tears running down her face. "We never wanted to deceive you. Yet you did." She couldn't deny it. When Emma's letter was found, everything fell apart. I folded my arms. "What did the letter say?" Mrs. Carter wiped her eyes. "She wrote that she couldn't marry someone she didn't truly love." The words felt like another knife. "So she lied to me until the very end." Mr. Carter closed his eyes. "We didn't know she was planning this." I laughed bitterly. "That doesn't make this any better." "No." He took a slow breath. "It doesn't." The room fell silent. Finally, I looked at Evelyn. "And you agreed to wear the dress." She nodded. "I did." "Why?" "I couldn't watch my father collapse." She glanced at Mr. Carter. "The doctors warned us another heart attack could kill him." I remembered the hospital visits, the medications, the fear in Emma's voice whenever her father became ill. For a moment, my anger shifted, not toward Evelyn, toward the impossible situation she had been forced into. Mrs. Carter clasped her hands together. "We're asking for only a few days." I frowned. "A few days? Until we find Emma. So you want everyone to believe Evelyn is my wife? Please." I looked at Evelyn. She couldn't even meet my eyes. "You expect me to live a lie." Mr. Carter answered quietly. "We expect nothing." He paused. "We're begging." The word hung heavily in the room. I hated what they had done, but I also saw their fear. Not fear of gossip, fear of losing their family completely. After a long silence, I finally spoke. 3 days. Everyone looked at me. "No longer." Mrs. Carter covered her mouth. "Thank you." "Don't thank me." I shook my head. "I'm doing this for him." I nodded toward Mr. Carter. "Not for Emma." Mr. Carter's eyes became emotional. "I understand. You'd better." After they quietly left the room, only Evelyn and I remained. The silence between us felt different now. Less hostile. Still awkward. But honest. "I'm sorry." She whispered the words again. "You've said that 100 times." "I know. It still doesn't change anything." "No." She looked around the suite. "I'll sleep on the sofa." "You don't have to." "I think I do." I sighed. "Fine." She gathered a blanket without complaining. Watching her, I realized something strange. Emma would have argued. Emma would have defended herself. Emma would have blamed someone else. Evelyn did none of those things. She simply accepted the burden. Later that night, I stood alone by the window. The city lights stretched across the darkness. I should have been celebrating my wedding. Instead, I was wondering where my bride had gone. Behind me, Evelyn quietly spoke. "I'll help you find her." I turned. "Why?" "Because you deserve the truth." I studied her face. It looked exactly like Emma's. Yet somehow, it didn't feel the same. The kindness in her eyes was impossible to fake. For the first time that day, I realized identical faces could hide completely different hearts. I still didn't trust her. I didn't know if I ever could. But as we prepared to search for the woman who had destroyed both our lives, one truth became impossible to ignore. The marriage built on deception had begun with silence. Yet the only person brave enough to face that silence was the woman who never should have been standing beside me in the first place. The first morning after our wedding felt nothing like the beginning of a marriage. Evelyn was already awake when I walked into the kitchen. She had prepared coffee. "I wasn't sure how you take it." "I'll drink anything today." She gave a small, apologetic smile. "I'm sorry." I sighed. "You don't have to apologize every 5 minutes." "I know. But I keep feeling like I should." We drank in silence. For the first time since the ceremony, The anger inside me wasn't as loud. It was still there, but I could finally think. We should start looking for Emma. Evelyn nodded immediately. I already called everyone I know. Any answers? She shook her head. No. That became our routine. Every morning, we searched. We contacted friends. Visited places Emma used to love. Called hotels. Checked bus stations. Nothing. It was as if she had disappeared from the world. One afternoon, Ryan stopped by the house. He looked from me to Evelyn. I still can't believe this. Neither can I. He pulled me aside. Can we talk? Outside, he lowered his voice. How are you holding up? I don't know. And her? I glanced through the window. Evelyn was helping Mrs. Carter prepare lunch. She's trying. Ryan watched quietly. She doesn't seem like Emma. She's not. He raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I thought about it. Emma always wanted to be right. And Evelyn? She just wants to help. Ryan nodded slowly. I noticed. When we returned inside, Evelyn greeted Ryan with a warm smile. I'm sorry we met under these circumstances. Ryan smiled politely. It isn't your fault. She looked surprised. Thank you. During lunch, Mr. Carter suddenly began coughing. Everyone stood immediately. Evelyn rushed to his side before anyone else. Dad, I'm all right. No, you're not. She handed him his medication without hesitation. Mrs. Carter looked relieved. I was looking for those. They're always in his left pocket. Mr. Carter smiled weakly. You remember everything. Evelyn squeezed his hand. Someone has to. Watching them together, I noticed something. She wasn't helping because anyone expected her to. She simply cared. That evening, after everyone went to bed, I found Evelyn sitting alone on the back porch. She looked up. Can't sleep? I shook my head. No. She smiled faintly. Me neither. I sat beside her. For a while, we watched the stars. Finally, I asked, were you always this close to your father? She nodded. Since I was little. What about Emma? Her smile faded. She loved him too, but she always wanted freedom more. The answer stayed with me. Evelyn continued quietly. Emma hated feeling trapped. And you? I never minded staying. She looked toward the dark garden. I like taking care of people. I believed her. Not because of what she said, because I had already seen it. She cared for her parents. She helped strangers. She apologized even when things weren't her fault. None of it looked forced. It simply seemed natural. For the first time, I stopped seeing Emma's face. I started seeing Evelyn's heart. And somehow, that made everything even more complicated. The next few days changed something between Evelyn and me. Not love. Not yet. Something simpler. Trust. We had started as two strangers trapped in the same impossible situation. Now we were becoming friends. Late at night we talked. Not about the marriage. Not about Emma. About ourselves. Things we had never told anyone else. I always thought people saw me as Emma's shadow. Evelyn said one night while sitting on the balcony. I looked at her. Why? Because we looked the same. She smiled sadly. People expected us to have the same personality too. Did that bother you? Sometimes. She looked at the city lights. Emma was confident. She walked into a room, and everyone noticed her. And you? I was the person standing behind her. I shook my head. I don't think that's true. She looked surprised. Why? Because everyone notices the person who actually cares. She didn't answer, but she smiled. The next morning, everything changed. I was in the kitchen when the front door opened. A familiar voice filled the house. Where is everyone? My entire body froze. I turned around. Emma stood there, alive, calm, as if she hadn't destroyed my wedding day, as if she hadn't disappeared. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Then anger replaced shock. Emma. Her eyes moved toward me, then toward Evelyn. Her expression changed. What is she doing here? Evelyn stood slowly. Emma. No. Emma looked furious. What did you tell him? I stared at her. Are you serious? She ignored me. You were supposed to keep everything quiet. The word shocked me. Everything quiet? She finally looked at me. I can explain. Explain what? I stepped closer. Why you left? Silence. Why you made your sister marry me? Emma looked uncomfortable. I didn't ask her to marry you. No. I laughed bitterly. You just disappeared and let everyone else clean up your mess. Her face hardened. You don't understand. Then help me understand. She looked at Evelyn. You ruined everything. I couldn't believe what I heard. What? Emma pointed at her sister. She took my place. Evelyn stared at her. I was trying to protect Dad. I didn't ask you to. No. Evelyn's voice remained calm. But I couldn't let him die from the shock. Emma crossed her arms. You always wanted to be the good daughter. That sentence hurt more than anger. I looked at Evelyn. She looked down. Emma. I couldn't stay silent. How can you say that to her? Emma looked at me. You're defending her? Yes. The answer surprised even me. Because she was there when you weren't. Emma's expression changed. For the first time, I saw something besides confidence. Fear. You don't know the whole story. Then tell me. She looked away. I came back because we need to fix this. Fix what? The marriage. I stared at her. You mean the fake marriage? She lowered her voice. We can end it quietly. I felt something break inside me. Not because she wanted to end it, because she still didn't understand. After everything, after leaving, after lying, she came back worried about the scandal, not the pain she caused. Then attorney Susan Blake arrived with a folder in her hand. Everyone turned. She looked between us. I believe we need to discuss the legal situation. Emma frowned. Why is the family lawyer here? Susan opened the folder. Because the marriage you created may not be as simple to erase as you think. The room became silent. And for the first time, Emma looked afraid. The truth had stayed hidden for too long. Everyone knew something was wrong, but nobody wanted to be the first person to say it. For weeks, we continued pretending. To the outside world, I was still married. Evelyn was still living under Emma's identity. And Emma was still avoiding responsibility. Until Mr. Carter's birthday celebration. The entire family gathered at the Carter estate. Business partners arrived. Relatives filled the rooms. Everyone came to celebrate the man who had built the family company from nothing. I stood beside Evelyn near the garden. She looked uncomfortable. You don't have to stay. I looked at her. Why would I leave? Because this is my family's problem. I shook my head. No. She looked surprised. This stopped being only your family's problem the day I married you. The word made both of us pause. Married you. Even though the situation was complicated, the legal reality remained. She looked away. I still feel guilty. You shouldn't. I took your wedding day. No. I looked at her. Emma did. Before she could respond, the music stopped. Everyone turned. Emma stood near the entrance. She had arrived late. And she wasn't alone. David Carter, the family business director, stood beside her. He looked uncomfortable. Emma walked through the crowd confidently. The same confidence I remembered. I think everyone deserves to know what happened. The room became quiet. Evelyn immediately looked nervous. Emma. No. Emma raised her voice. I've stayed silent long enough. I watched her carefully. Something felt wrong. She wasn't afraid. She looked prepared. I want everyone here to know that my sister betrayed me. Whispers spread through the crowd. Mr. Carter frowned. What are you talking about? Emma pointed at Evelyn. She stole my life. The words hit everyone. Evelyn looked down. That's not true. Emma laughed. Really? She looked around. She stood at my wedding altar. Nobody spoke, because nobody knew the full story. Except us. I stepped forward. Enough. Emma turned. You don't get to speak for me. I do now. Her expression changed. Why? Because I was there. The garden became completely silent. I looked at everyone. On my wedding day. Mr. Carter stared at me. What are you saying? I took a breath. The woman who walked down the aisle wasn't Emma. Everyone froze. My voice remained steady. It was Evelyn. Shock moved through the crowd. Mrs. Carter covered her mouth. David looked at Emma. What? I continued. Emma disappeared before the ceremony. Emma's face changed. Stop. No. I looked directly at her. You wanted everyone to hear the truth. She became silent. So they will. Mr. Carter looked between his daughters. Evelyn. Tears filled Evelyn's eyes. I'm sorry, Dad. The pain on his face was immediate. Not anger. Heartbreak. I continued. She didn't do it for herself. I looked at Evelyn. She did it because she was afraid your condition couldn't handle the shock. The entire garden became silent. Mr. Carter looked at his younger daughter. You knew. Evelyn nodded. I couldn't let something happen to you. For the first time, everyone saw the truth. She wasn't the person who stole a life. She was the person who sacrificed hers to protect someone else. Mr. Carter looked at Evelyn with tears in his eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Evelyn lowered her head. Because I knew what you would do. What would I do? You would worry about me. His voice broke. Of course I would worry. She looked at him. That's why I couldn't tell you. The entire garden remained silent. Everyone who had judged Evelyn was now seeing the truth. She had carried the blame. She had carried the fear. And she had done it alone. Emma crossed her arms. This isn't fair. I turned toward her. Not fair. She looked at me. You're making me look like the villain. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Emma. What? You disappeared. I was scared. And she protected your family. I didn't ask her to. No. My voice became stronger. But she did it anyway. Emma looked away. David finally spoke. Emma, is this true? She didn't answer. That silence told everyone enough. Mr. Carter slowly sat down. The strength disappeared from his face. I thought. He looked at Evelyn. I thought you were hiding something from me because you didn't trust me. Evelyn rushed toward him. No. She held his hand. I trusted you more than anyone. Then why carry this alone? She started crying. Because I love you. Those simple words broke something inside the room. Mrs. Carter walked toward her daughter. For weeks, Evelyn had been treated like the problem. Now everyone understood she had been the solution. Emma looked uncomfortable. But instead of apologizing, she became defensive. I had my reasons. Everyone turned toward her. I stared. Your reasons? She looked at me. You don't know what I was going through. Then explain. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Because explanations required honesty. And honesty was the one thing she had avoided. I made one mistake. I shook my head. No. She looked hurt. You think I'm a terrible person? I think you kept making choices without caring who got hurt. Her eyes filled with anger. You love her now? The question surprised me. I looked at Evelyn. Then back at Emma. This isn't about love. Then what is it? Respect. The room became quiet. She stood beside your family when you ran away. Emma looked away. Mr. Carter spoke softly. Enough. Everyone looked at him. He stood slowly. For the first time that evening, he looked stronger. Emma. She turned. I love you. Her expression softened. But love does not mean protecting someone from the consequences of their choices. Tears filled her eyes. You are my daughter. He paused. But Evelyn showed me what sacrifice looks like. Emma looked at her sister. Evelyn didn't look angry. That was what surprised me. She looked tired, like she had finally put down a burden she carried for too long. Later that night, after the guests left, I found Evelyn standing alone outside. You okay? She smiled faintly. For the first time in months. I stood beside her. You know you didn't have to apologize. I know. Then why did you? She looked toward the house. Because I spent so long believing I was responsible for everyone's pain. And now, she took a deep breath. Now I understand that helping someone doesn't mean destroying yourself. I smiled. That's something you should have known from the beginning. She laughed softly. Maybe. The night was quiet, peaceful. For the first time since the wedding, the truth was no longer hidden. Evelyn was no longer living behind Emma's identity. She was finally seen for who she truly was. And I realized something. The woman who wore the wrong wedding dress wasn't the one who stole my future. She was the one who helped me discover what honesty, kindness, and real loyalty looked like. Months passed before everything finally became clear. Not easy, not perfect, but clear. The legal situation surrounding my marriage was more complicated than anyone expected. According to the documents, I was legally married to Evelyn. Not Emma, the woman who stood beside me at the altar. The woman who signed the papers. The woman who shared those impossible days with me. Attorney Susan Blake spent weeks reviewing everything. One afternoon, she called us into her office. I have the final decision. I sat beside Evelyn. She looked nervous. Susan placed a folder on the table. The marriage is legally valid. Neither of us spoke. But because of the unusual circumstances, you have options. Evelyn looked at her. What options? Susan folded her hands. You can request an immediate separation and end the marriage. I looked down. And the other option? You can continue. The room became quiet. Susan continued. But only if both of you choose it freely. No family pressure. No fear. No pretending. A real choice. Evelyn looked at me. For the first time, there was no sadness in her eyes. No guilt. Only uncertainty. After the meeting, we walked outside. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Finally, Evelyn stopped. You should choose what makes you happy. I looked at her. What if I already know? Her expression changed. You don't have to say that because you feel responsible. I don't. You might think you owe me something. I shook my head. Evelyn. She became quiet. I don't owe you anything. Then why? I smiled slightly. Because you were the only honest person in a story full of lies. Her eyes became emotional. I was just trying to help. I know. And I never wanted you to see me differently. I know. She looked away. I still feel strange. Why? Because I spent my whole life being compared to Emma. I waited. And now? She looked at me. Now I don't want to be chosen because I'm the opposite of her. I understood. She didn't want to be the replacement. She wanted to be Evelyn, not Emma's twin, not the woman who fixed a mistake. Just herself. You know something? What? I didn't fall for you because you weren't Emma. She looked surprised. Then why? Because of who you are. The words came naturally. Your kindness. Your honesty. Your loyalty. She looked down, trying to hide her smile. Those things were always there. Yes. I paused. I just didn't notice them until everything else fell apart. For years, I believed love was about history, about the person who came first, about the memories you already had. But Evelyn taught me something different. Love wasn't only about the past. It was about the person who stood beside you when the future looked impossible. A few weeks later, we made our decision. Not because anyone expected it. Not because of the family. Not because of the mistake. Because we wanted to. The second ceremony was nothing like the first. No panic. No secrets. No borrowed identity. Just two people choosing each other. The garden was small. Only our closest friends and family were there. No expensive decorations. No pressure. No pretending. Just honesty. Ryan stood beside me, smiling. I still can't believe this is how your wedding story turned out. I laughed. Neither can I. He looked toward Evelyn. But I think this one finally feels right. I nodded. Because it did. When Evelyn walked toward me, she wasn't wearing a veil. She wasn't hiding. Everyone could see her face. Everyone could see who she was. And that mattered. She stopped in front of me. For a moment, we simply looked at each other. Then she smiled. Ready? I smiled back. More than I was the first time. She laughed softly. The officiant began the ceremony. But this time, every word felt different. Because every word was chosen. Not forced. Not rushed. Not created from fear. When it was time for vows, Evelyn looked at me. I don't promise a perfect life. Her voice trembled slightly. But I promise to always tell you the truth. I listened carefully. I promise to stand beside you, even when things are difficult. A tear formed in her eyes. And I promise to never let you feel alone. I smiled. Then it was my turn. I looked at the woman in front of me. The woman who carried a burden that wasn't hers. The woman who protected a family that wasn't protecting her. The woman who showed me what real character looked like. I don't promise that our past was easy. I said, but I promise I will never forget what it taught me. Evelyn smiled. I promise to choose you every day. Not because of circumstances. Not because of mistakes. But because you are the person I want beside me. The garden became quiet. Then the officiant smiled. You may now begin your marriage by choice. Everyone laughed softly. And for the first time, I understood the difference. Our first marriage happened because of a mistake. Our second began because of a decision. After the ceremony, Mr. Carter approached us. He looked emotional. Evelyn. She hugged him. I'm okay, Dad. He shook his head. No. He smiled. You finally are. Mrs. Carter apologized to Evelyn one final time. I wish I had protected you sooner. Evelyn hugged her. I know. But you are here now. That was enough. Emma never returned to our lives the same way. Eventually, we heard she moved away and started over. I hope she found peace. Because forgiveness didn't mean forgetting what happened. It meant refusing to let anger control the future. Years later, people would sometimes ask about our unusual beginning. They would laugh when they heard the story. A mistaken marriage? An identical twin? A wedding disaster? I always smiled. Because they only saw the strange part. They didn't see the truth. They didn't see the woman who stayed when everything was falling apart. They didn't see the kindness behind the face. They didn't see the choice. I once believed I lost my future when Emma walked away. I was wrong. The future I was searching for wasn't behind me. It was standing beside me all along. Our first marriage was an accident. Our second was a promise. And the difference between them was simple. The first happened because of deception. The second happened because of love.